Bitki Birinji video. What if I told you the Soviet Union had a superfruit with 12 times more vitamin C than oranges, and they kept it classified for decades? And when Western scientists finally discovered it, the supplement industry buried every study showing it could make their products obsolete. The year is 1961. Soviet cosmonauts are being prepared for humanity's first ventures into space, and military doctors face an impossible problem. How do you protect human tissue from cosmic radiation when you are sending people beyond Earth's atmosphere? The answer they found was not in a laboratory. It was growing wild in the frozen wastelands of Siberia, a bright orange berry that Mongolian warriors had been feeding to their horses for thousands of years. The Soviets called it obsolete. The scientific name is Hippophyramnoides. In English, we know it as sea buckthorn, and for 50 years it was one of the most extensively researched plants in the Soviet Union, classified under military and space program secrecy. Soviet cosmonauts consumed sea buckthorn before, during, and after space missions as juice, concentrated paste, and whole berries. The reason was radiation protection. Space radiation causes oxidative stress at the cellular level, damaging deoxyribonucleic acid and increasing cancer risk. Sea buckthorn contains such concentrated levels of antioxidants, vitamins, and protective compounds that it became standard issue for anyone going into orbit. This was not folklore. This was military-grade nutritional science being applied to keep humans alive in the most hostile environment imaginable. But sea buckthorn was not just for cosmonauts. The Soviet military issued it to submariners, pilots, and soldiers stationed in extreme environments. The plant was so valuable that the Soviet government established massive cultivation programs across Siberia and Central Asia. By the 1980s, the Soviet Union was producing thousands of tons annually, almost all going to military and government health programs. Then the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. And for a brief window, those classified studies started leaking into Western scientific literature. Researchers in Europe and North America began translating Russian papers on sea buckthorn, and what they found was staggering. This was not just another berry with some vitamin C. This was a nutritional profile unlike anything in common Western agriculture. Let me break down what sea buckthorn actually contains, because once you see these numbers, you will understand why it had to be suppressed. Vitamin C content in sea buckthorn ranges from 400 to 1,500 milligrams per 100 grams of berries, depending on variety and growing conditions. For comparison, oranges contain about 50 milligrams per 100 grams. That means sea buckthorn has 8 to 30 times more vitamin C than the fruit we are told is the vitamin C source. The variation depends on subspecies and harvest timing, but even the lowest estimates put sea buckthorn far beyond any common fruit. Vitamin E content is equally shocking. Sea buckthorn oil contains 160 to 200 milligrams of vitamin E per 100 grams of oil, beating wheat germ oil, which is marketed as a premium source. Then there are the omega fatty acids. Sea buckthorn is one of the only plant sources that contains omega-3, omega-6, omega-7, and omega-9 fatty acids. Most plants give you one or two. Sea buckthorn gives you all four. The omega-7 content is particularly rare, primarily found in fish. You cannot get this combination from common foods. Sea buckthorn provides all of them in one berry. Carotenoids are another category where sea buckthorn dominates. It contains beta-carotene, lycopene, and zeaxanthin at levels exceeding carrots and tomatoes. These are powerful antioxidants that protect cells from oxidative damage, which is exactly why Soviet space doctors used sea buckthorn for radiation protection. Flavonoids, including quercetin and kaempferol, are present in high concentrations. These compounds have anti-inflammatory properties and support immune function. The flavonoid profile in sea buckthorn is more diverse than blueberries and acai, which are marketed as superfoods. Sea buckthorn also contains organic acids, amino acids, and minerals including calcium, magnesium, potassium, iron, and phosphorus. It is not just a vitamin source, it is a complete nutritional system in one plant. The Soviets understood this. They were not using it because of one nutrient. They were using it because it provided broad-spectrum protection against environmental stressors, malnutrition, and tissue damage. It was a field hospital in a berry. Now, here is where the suppression begins. In the mid-1990s, as these Russian studies became available in English, several things happened. First, small health companies in Europe and North America started importing sea buckthorn products. You could find sea buckthorn juice, oil, and dried berries in specialty health stores. Some companies began marketing it as a superfood, comparing it to goji berries and acai. There was a brief moment when it looked like sea buckthorn might become a mainstream health product. Then the pushback started. The supplement industry, which generates over $20 billion annually in the United States alone, operates on a simple model. Sell isolated vitamins and minerals in pill form at high markup. Vitamin C supplements are a multi-billion-dollar segment. If people discovered that a berry provided 30 times more vitamin C than oranges, along with vitamin E, omega fatty acids, and dozens of other compounds in bioavailable natural form, the market for isolated synthetic vitamins would collapse. Why buy vitamin C pills when you can grow a shrub that produces berries with more vitamin C than any supplement? The industry response was predictable. Sea buckthorn was not directly attacked. That would draw attention. Instead, it was ignored. Research funding dried up. Universities that had started sea buckthorn studies found their grants not renewed. Agricultural extension services that had shown interest in promoting sea buckthorn cultivation as a crop for marginal land stopped mentioning it. Nurseries that had begun stocking sea buckthorn plants gradually dropped them due to lack of demand, which was lack of promotion, which was lack of industry support. Media campaigns promoting oranges, orange juice, and vitamin C supplements intensified. The narrative that oranges are the ultimate vitamin C source was reinforced through advertising, nutritional education materials, and public health messaging. Sea buckthorn, despite being scientifically superior, got zero promotion. No advertising budget, no celebrity endorsements, no presence in grocery stores. Within 10 years of the Soviet studies reaching the West, sea buckthorn had been effectively buried under a wave of industry-promoted alternatives that were inferior but profitable. But here is what makes the suppression particularly insidious. Sea buckthorn is not exotic. It is not difficult to grow. It is not limited to one climate zone. Sea buckthorn is native to Europe and Asia, and it grows across a massive range of conditions. It is hardy from Zone 3 to Zone 7, meaning it survives in climates from Canada to the southern United States. It tolerates poor soil, drought, wind, salt spray, and neglect. It is one of the most resilient food-producing plants in existence. It fixes nitrogen, improving soil rather than depleting it. It requires no fertilizer, no pesticides, and minimal water once established. A mature sea buckthorn shrub produces 10 to 30 pounds of berries per year and lives for 20 to 30 years. That is hundreds of pounds of the most nutrient-dense food on earth from one planting. If people understood this, if sea buckthorn were promoted the way blueberries or strawberries are promoted, it would become a backyard staple. Every homesteader, every prepper, every health-conscious person with a yard would plant it. And that is exactly why it cannot be allowed to succeed. The food system depends on scarcity, repeated purchases, and dependence on supply chains. Sea buckthorn provides abundance, one-time planting, and complete independence. It is too effective. It is too easy. It makes people too self-sufficient. Let me tell you what sea buckthorn cultivation looks like. Sea buckthorn is a deciduous shrub that grows 6 to 12 feet tall. It produces dense clusters of bright orange berries along the branches. The berries ripen in late summer to fall. There are male and female plants. You need both for berry production. One male can pollinate up to 6 females. Planting is straightforward. Sea buckthorn prefers full sun but tolerates almost anything. It grows in sandy, clay, and rocky soil where other plants fail. You plant it, water it in, and leave it alone. Once established, it survives on rainfall alone. Sea buckthorn has nitrogen-fixing bacteria in its roots. It enriches the soil rather than depleting it. This is the opposite of industrial agriculture, which degrades soil and requires constant inputs. Pest and disease issues are minimal. Sea buckthorn has few natural pests. The berries are too acidic for birds until late winter. Fungal diseases are rare. The main issue is root rot in poorly drained soil, easily avoided by not planting in swamps. Harvesting is labor-intensive but manageable. The berries grow along thorny branches. Traditional harvesters freeze the branches and shake berries onto tarps. Others wait until the first hard freeze and shake the plant. There are specialized harvesting tools available. Once harvested, berries can be juiced, frozen, dried, or processed into oil. Fresh berries are extremely tart. Most people juice them or blend them into smoothies. Sea buckthorn juice is the most common preparation. Crush the berries and strain out seeds and skins. 1 or 2 ounces per day provides more vitamin C than most people get in a week. The juice can be diluted or mixed with sweeter juices. Sea buckthorn oil is extracted from the seeds and fruit pulp. Seed oil is higher in omega-3 and omega-6. Pulp oil is higher in omega-7 and carotenoids. The oil is sold as a dietary supplement and used in skincare products for its regenerating properties. Cosmonauts use sea buckthorn oil topically to treat radiation burns. Dried sea buckthorn berries can be ground into powder and added to foods or encapsulated as supplements. The powder is shelf-stable for years. A few pounds of dried sea buckthorn powder provides emergency vitamin nutrition that does not require refrigeration and lasts indefinitely. Now let me tell you why preppers and survivalists need to pay attention to sea buckthorn. In a supply chain collapse, vitamin deficiency becomes a serious problem within weeks. Stored rice and beans provide calories and protein, but without fresh produce, you develop scurvy, weakened immunity, and system failure. Vitamin C is not optional. It is a survival requirement. Humans cannot synthesize it. In a long-term grid-down scenario, where are you getting vitamin C? Stored supplements run out. You need a renewable source. Sea buckthorn is that source. One mature shrub produces enough berries to supply a family for an entire year. It produces every year for 20 to 30 years. It requires nothing. If you plant sea buckthorn now, it is there when you need it. If you wait until collapse happens, it is too late. Sea buckthorn propagates easily. You can grow new plants from cuttings, root suckers, or seeds. Once you have one plant, you can create an unlimited supply. This is the kind of resilience that exists outside the system. It cannot be controlled or shut down. That is exactly why it has been kept out of mainstream awareness. The historical use of sea buckthorn goes back thousands of years. Genghis Khan fed it to his horses before military campaigns. Tibetan and traditional Chinese medicine have used it for centuries. These are time-tested applications from cultures that relied on plants for medicine. In modern China, sea buckthorn is a significant agricultural crop. The Chinese government has promoted cultivation for soil conservation in arid regions. Millions of acres have been planted in northwestern China. The berries are processed into juices, oils, and health products. China understands the value and uses it strategically. Meanwhile, in the United States, it remains virtually unknown. Europe has had slightly better awareness. Sea buckthorn grows wild in parts of Germany, Scandinavia, and Eastern Europe with traditional use. Some European countries have small-scale commercial cultivation, but even in Europe, it has not achieved mainstream status. The scientific research on sea buckthorn is extensive in Russian, Chinese, and Eastern European literature. Western journals have published some studies, but the volume is tiny compared to research on promoted superfoods. The studies confirm traditional uses. Sea buckthorn supports immune function, reduces inflammation, and provides antioxidant protection. But the supplement industry only funds studies on products they control. Sea buckthorn gets no funding or visibility. This is the pattern with every suppressed plant. If it cannot be patented, controlled, or monetized through repeated sales, it gets buried. The fact that sea buckthorn is superior to dozens of supplements does not matter. Profit is the point. A population that can grow its own complete nutrition is a population that does not buy vitamins or depend on grocery stores. So what happens now? The information is spreading. Person to person, video to video, garden to garden. They suppressed sea buckthorn for decades because knowledge control worked when information moves slowly. But that control is breaking. Every person who learns about this and shares it breaks the suppression. Every plant established in a backyard is free nutrition. They cannot stop. The Soviets proved it works. China uses it strategically. The only question is whether you plant it before you need it. If this video showed you a superfood the supplement industry buried for profit, hit that like button. Subscribe because we expose the plants they do not want you growing. Every week we bring suppressed food knowledge that could save your life when supply chains break. The algorithm suppresses content like this because it threatens billion-dollar industries. The only way this reaches people is if you share it. Comment below if you are growing sea buckthorn or if this is your first time hearing about it.